I will continue make prints with the 6x6 negatives made with the Hasselblad on a Portra 400 from my latest Hamburg trip. So let's start with the bringing chemistry to the proper temperature and choosing the negative for the next print. Quick array 4 process is 35 degrees, so I usually use a little bit more, around 36 degrees, to compensate for the losses in the heat transfer to the bottles itself. All the negatives I store in these folders, which is closed, and I really like this paper. It's not really good for contact prints, but I never actually make the contact prints. So the next shot is a little bit contrasty, and it will be not really easy probably to print. We will see it on like first test prints. So let's check the sharpness and focus for the grain and check what we actually have on the negative. So it was shot in the midday with the Kodak Portra 400, and we have a lot of contrast and a lot of sharpness. It's a bit probably overexposed, but I still don't really have all details in the shadows. I always start from my calibration procedure with the Philips color calibrator, so I start with the cyan channel and just dial in the exposure in the range of 10 to 20 seconds, and from there I have like this kind of a settings. I always use some cyan filter in the head. I will explain it a little bit later, but for now let's check what we have from initial test print. So this is a small piece, but actually it's quite interesting part of the picture. Unfortunately, I don't have any details in the sky because it was completely like bright sky without any clouds, and I have a lot of contrast here on this part. It's actually almost totally black, and the rest of the image actually looks properly exposed, but I have a small tint which I will correct with the settings on my enlarger head. Don't forget to put all the settings what you start from. So this is quite interesting because you can make notes afterwards, like what you actually change from like initial setting to the last one. Because I know I have something wrong with the cyan channel here, I will start with the 10 units below and make steps with the 5 units on the cyan filter and just find the proper position for cyan. And because it's a test print with the different windows, so you can clearly see what is like your ideal transition point, and you can clearly choose like proper setting with a step of 5. I usually don't take the steps with the smaller steps because you cannot really recognize the color difference there. From this test print I can say I'm actually on the border of my range what I choose, so it's much better was to like go in the forward direction from my setting of 60. So because my ideal settings what I found here around like 70 75, so I will stop with the 70, but I don't really see like perfect transition to the opposite side of the color there, so it's not like ideal point, but it's a good enough starting point. So you can make test prints, and for the second test print I will just check the same but with the blue color because the whole picture is a little bit warm. So I just I increase yellow filter to reduce yellow in the picture. As you can see here, the latest settings, which is like highest settings, it's removing too much yellow and picture became blue. So you can find something around like 100, 105, which is perfect settings, and I will choose just 100 because you can see on the gray areas and on the white areas you have no tint in the blue, so it means it's more or less like neutral color for the picture. So after transferring the settings, I will directly go for the bigger prints and refocus again on the easel with the frames and just check again like if I have all focus right on each point, which I can check. And make exposure with the 13 seconds and go for the final print. So I'm using this app. It's actually counting for me number of prints what I developed and the 2 timers for 35 seconds. So because it's only 2 solutions, I just put it in a first cap on top of this Jobo tank. So I will just start the timer and start rotation at the same time, and when you turn it around for 90 degrees it's actually starting developing the paper. So I'm always using cyan channel in this photo head because I want to use the sweet spot of the lens. Otherwise, it's for this type of Fujifilm paper, it's actually too much exposure. So I use cyan filter as just natural density filter. So I input all the filters inside to use around like 5.6, f8, something like this on the lens. And this is our print, so let's wash it and at least check what we have and if we can fix something with the exposure. Because it's too much contrast and I don't really like the black spots on top of the picture. But I'm still not sure if I can recover them because maybe I don't have any information just on the negative itself. I don't really like these black points on the print, unfortunately, but I'm still not sure if I can recover them if I have enough information to expose anything from the negative, because it was quite bright day and it was exposed by the shadows, but probably not enough to expose like the whole dynamic range. I will use this metal spoke and cut some circle to make the shadowing mask. The whole idea behind this kind of a thing contraption, so it's just using this type of motions on the black spots, which is actually quite bright spots from the negative, to block a little bit of light and make them a little bit more like less dark, so you're removing a lot of light from these spots. So this procedure is quite common on the black and white photography, but I actually never saw it on the color photography for some reason. I don't know why. So it's the same exact array 4 process. You kind of can do the same tricks what you use in the black and white photography, and it should work. After solution 1 and solution 2, you can actually wash it, and because it's a resin print, so it's only coated from one side and it's really thin coating which is sensitive to the light. It's quite fast wash and dry, so it doesn't get a lot of like solution inside the paper, and it's quite fast to wash. Before drying, your negative, like your print, is a little bit bluish and a little bit different exposure. So when you dry it, it's more close to the colors what you can expect in a normal light. So I have two corrections what I actually make. I just make a shift like this on the paper. It's because I don't really like if it's like in the middle of the paper. I really like it more to shift it up. Let's check what we've done in the shadows, and unfortunately I don't see any changes. This is the same picture, so it means we don't really have any details on the negative, and my negative actually just don't have any resolution there, so it's completely black, so it means it's completely transparent. And as you can see here, this yellowish base color of the film can literally say to us, so it's no details there. You cannot recover anything if it's not on film.